Every movie that Barry Jenkins makes people feel. This is a story I mean, it's painful for so many people to explore. It's uncomfortable in so many ways. I'd love to know, when you're making the movie, like, what's the environment like on set? Is it always like morose? Is it always like depressed?
I think rather than trying to creep around it, we addressed it head on. We had a therapist, a guidance counselor on set at all times. We tried to always check on one another, to understand that we were a community telling the story together. And then, yeah, it wasn't morose on set at all times. It couldn't be, because one, we knew the journey that we were on was very long. 116 days is no joke, bruh.
Wow.
And in addition to that, we also knew why we were there. And we knew that even though some of the scenes that we were doing were very heavy and brutal and in some ways horrific, our reason for telling the story, to me, that was honorific, And so there was always some way to remember to hold on to the light in what we were doing.
I would be remiss if I didn't bring up the fact that the star and really the face of this series is my fellow South African Thuso Mbedu, who you have just expressed all of your admiration and love for. And like, there's so many sensitivities around where people are from and what roles they're going to be playing and whose stories you're going to be telling. So I'd love to know, as Barry Jenkins, when you choose the people and when you lay out the story, how do you pick who you think can best represent what's happening on screen?
Yeah, to be honest, I don't feel like I'm picking them. I feel like they're picking me in a certain way, or they come in and they take the role. With this character Cora, it was a couple of things. One, I knew the actor had to be strong. You need somebody who you feel can withstand that journey. But also, two, I wanted someone who could show me all the many facets of Cora's personality, of her heart, her spirit. And it came down to Thuso and another young woman who was not South African. I wasn't just looking for South Africans to play this part. Trust me, bro, my life would be a lot easier. My character in this series was not played by someone who's not African American. And Thuso she was it, man. She was it. And she understood the character, which to me is always the most important thing.
You also have a responsibility, some would argue, to protect the audience. A lot of people have written about how in the history of American film and cinema and television, Black trauma has been something that has been just freely doled out. How do you create a story where you're going, this is not just about, the poverty porn of it all. It is a story that happened and it includes this violence and this pain. How do you find that balance of figuring out what we're trying to focus on?
It's tricky. I try to be very open and listen to the conversation that's happening out in the public sphere to make sure I'm aware and I have my finger on the pulse of people's sensitivities. I want to acknowledge them and not necessarily let them dictate how I work, but I can't get in this conversation with you right now and go, oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know people stuff, because that would be a lie.